Just kidding. If you, let's look at the comments and make sure everybody can hear me. Well, hello Ramblers, and welcome back for another Ramblestream. This will be Ramblestream episode number 59. We've almost made it to 60 episodes. That would be over a year of weekly Ramblestreams if I made every single one. Again, let me know if you can't hear me. I think I've done all the things that make the noise work. Welcome to another Ramblestream. As always, if you are, I'll give my spiel. If you're new to the Ramblestream, welcome. We really look forward to having folks at least put up a comment, say where you're from. The formula we use is to tell us where you're from, or what your handle is, which you would sign in on if you're on YouTube or otherwise, where you're viewing from, what you have in your garage, what's your means of travel, whether it's a Janus, and if it's a Janus, tell us the serial number. If it's a motorcycle, tell us what kind of motorcycle it is. If it's a car, you get the drill. Doesn't have to be a Janus, doesn't have to be a motorcycle. We do appreciate rambling vehicles though. So I'll let you figure out what that means. I'll go ahead and get started. My name is Richard Worsham, founder and designer here at Janus Motorcycles. I'm broadcasting from what we call TT, which is our fabrication shop here a little bit south of our main headquarters in Goshen, Indiana. Broadcasting from my office, which is also a one-time paint booth. Let's see. Motorcycles I ride. I have a 2009 Kawasaki KLR and what year is my Halcyon? 2017? 2017, I think. Halcyon 250 number 68. And and if you've named your ride, your steed, give us the name, what you call it. And last but not least, this evening I'm sipping on a nice Janus mug of cold H2O, as you all say. Cheers. All right, well, let's take a quick look at some comments here from you all. We've got 50 people on right now, and I haven't even started. Tom Lathrop's on. Greetings from Burlington, Wisconsin. Griffin 250 number 149. Halcyon 250 number 1008. Sipping on lemon seltzer water. So far, no one has complained that they can't hear me, so we're good. Riggedy Alps signing in. Good evening, everyone. Rich from Massachusetts. Bikes in the clubhouse include Halcyon 450 number 234, Cheyenne, 95th anniversary Harley-Davidson Wide Glide Spirit, and a Be Cool Pathfinder e-bike, unnamed, drinking polar seltzer. Fantastic. Bob Benstead is on from Sturgis, South Dakota. Good to see you, Bob. Sirius Blatt, one of our furthest afield viewers and latest viewers, it's late where he is. Jason from the snowy north of England, sipping H2O. Here we go. Cheers. Cheers to the H2O. Had placed an order for a Norton, now canceled. Long story. My new Royal Enfield Scram 411 arrives in 2 days. Interesting. So tell us about the story, because I know that one of the previous streams we were on, I asked about Norton and the condition of that, of the brand. There have been Norton. I'm not knocking Norton currently, but in years past, Norton has been racked with what should we say? Notoriety, scandal, really some bad management and maybe even illegal. But they have some fabulous products. Really, I think they do a wonderful job of combining a kind of what people call a retro look, but also and function really with modern kind of sport bike handling, and it really is a contemporary motorcycle. So tell us more, Sirius, about why you've canceled your Norton, and your the Scram is a great bike too. So tell us about that. Eric Green. Eric with Outlaw Halcyon 250 in Vancouver, Washington, drinking mocha. Nice. Eric has a fantastic motorcycle, taking its panache to a new level, flair to a new level. Dan Radimski in Western North Carolina here, 450 number 235, sipping Maker's Mark 150. Wonderful. Well, we'll get to that later, but we'll get to that later. I think I'll just call you Argo. How about that? Rex from snowy southeast Idaho, awaiting delivery of Halcyon 450 number 295, hot green tea. Good to see you, and good to see a new handle on here. Multifarious in Nebraska with Kingfisher, Halcyon 250, and we'll talk about that this evening. Some of you, if you're a regular Ramble streamer, you'll recognize Multifarious on the stream, and he will be joining us next week on the stream. And so I thought, in honor of the name of his motorcycle, we will talk a little bit about the names of one of our models, which has a lot to do with what he's named his bike. Gary Smith, hi from East Lansing, Michigan. Halcyon 50 number 11, Halcyon 250 number 79, Halcyon 450 number 3, Phoenix 250 number 79. He also has a 1972 Triumph Trident, a 1980 Honda CM200, a 1990 Harley-Davidson 883 Sportster. He has a 2-year-old, a 2015 Tourist, and a 2017 Gear Up, and he's sipping on Dr. Pepper. Good to see you as always, Gary. Hope you're doing well. Spartan here, are you? There you go, Gary. Lo-Fi by Nature, howdy from Southwest Michigan. Halcyon 250 number 1131, drinking red tea with honey. Nice. Oh, and that reminds me, one of these weeks, I did say, I don't know if I did say it, but I have thought it at least, that I'm going to do we'll do tea on the stream. And in this season of the year, it'll be good for me we'll do tea. And I was, as I told you all, I was over in the Far East visiting some of our suppliers, and was gifted very generously by one of our suppliers a tea set from China. And so I'll be, we'll make some tea the Chinese way. And I'll preface it with saying I'm no expert on Chinese tea making. I am an amateur, but it'll be fun. It's kind of a ritual, very, very, very rambling. John Gorentz, 1969. Good to see you, John. 1969 Harley-Davidson FL, 71 Rokon Trailbreaker. Awesome. Patiently awaiting notification when Halcyon 450 number 356 is on the build stand. No alcohol today. Kind of overdid it yesterday, but cheers to all. Well, cheers with some H2O. Wits Lindstrom. Good evening from Charleston, South Carolina. Halcyon 450 number 277, sipping on a ginger ale. Just received my 16-tooth front sprocket, looking to change it out. Nice. I think you'll be very happy with it. That's my experience. Racing the Sun. Ahoy, Felix Brothers, West Michigan. Halcyon 450 number 120 and 121, sipping on Michelob Amberbach Dark Lager. Cheers. Good to see you guys. Semtech 5x5, sir. Oh, no, thank you. Charles McGagan, hello from the Eastern Shore, riding Halcyon 250 number 454, Phoenix number 30, and soon Griffin 450 number 4. Well, woohoo, drinking water. There we go. It's a whole crew of us. Sirius says, if only there was an exquisitely designed, low-volume, low-weight motorcycle available in the UK. Yeah, right. Jeff Hoekstra, loud and clear. Thank you, sir. Tom Lathrop says, sound 5x5. Thank you all. Kyle Stevenson's here, Indiana. He's down in Fort Wayne, Honda CB350G, and some other rides as well, enjoying some clean, pure water. Like, there we go. I'm going to be drinking a lot of water. In Arthur Nordby in Quinlan, Texas, Halcyon 250, number 1039. Sweet Cream, Griffin 250, number 59, Little Black Bear. And a 2013 Yamaha 1300 Deluxe Big Blue. Just turned 90,000 miles. Sipping on a White Claw. Nice. I didn't pull that one up. Good names. Good names. And what a stable. Very, you got a little bit for everything. Spencer Anderson's on. Spencer here in Lafayette. Have not received my Janus yet. Halcyon 250 number 1123. It will so darn nifty. Can't wait to ride it into the sunset. Oh yeah, you bet, for sure. Oh yeah, you bet, for sure. Native Minnesotan. Keith Haywood, Halcyon 706 in New York, plus a couple of Triumphs, sipping cheap scotch. Good to see you, my friend. David Dixon's on. Good evening from Cato, Wisconsin. Halcyon 450, number 266, is slumbering in my workshop, dreaming of springtime. I am enjoying venison sloppy joes and a cold beer. Nice, nice. Is that won't have had time to cure yet this deer season? It just, or at least here in Indiana, it just started on Friday. Perry Ford says, hello, Richard and all. West Houston enjoying a Bex. Just got the BMW Case 75S back on the road and enjoying rambling again. Wonderful. Kelly Chrisman, how's it going, Kelly? Howdy Ramblers, Halcyon 450 number 236 Coyote, 2013 Harley-Davidson Ultra Black Pearl, 2006 Harley-Davidson Heritage Elvira, out of Winchester, Virginia, sipping on an orange crush. You asked last week if I'm from Virginia. No, I'm from California. Oh, there we go. N8 RAB, 250 number 569, and now 450 number 331. Fantastic. Jeff Hoekstra, Cedar Lake, Indiana, Halcyon number 63, bought last week and picking it up this week. I'll see you soon. Wonderful. We'll look forward to it. Absolutely. Kelly Crispin, father was Air Force, moved around a lot. Nice. Dan says, spent the day chasing vehicle VINs, Moto Guzzi V7 and Citroën 2 Chevaux. Nice. Versus the state. I will prevail. Man, so you said you had a K truck too. I mean, a Guzzi V7 is a wonderful machine. Actually, a Moto Guzzi V7 was one of the first motorcycles that I saw that captured my imagination and made me, because I was very into cafe racers. I was actually in Bologna, not home of the Moto Guzzi, home of the Ducati actually, but I saw one. It was an old one, probably a 70s Moto Guzzi V7 with the polished tank. And it was sitting in one of the arcades in Bologna. There's a city of many arcades. And it just looked incredible. And I took a bunch of pictures of it, and it was very inspiring. Very, very inspiring. Moto Guzzis are beautiful, and the brand is a remarkable, very small brand out of the north of Italy. And of course, if you don't know what a 2CV or a 2 Chevaux stands for, two horses, the Citroën, it's like the French Volkswagen Bug. Remarkable, beautifully engineered small cars that you definitely ramble in. Wonderful. I wish you luck with the BMW, Dan. Mark Gallistol, back for another. Hi all. Good to see you, Mark. Gary Smith says, Argo. Yes, I am a Spartan. Go green. Nice. Steve Q, hello from Hearst, Texas, riding Halcyon 250 number 988 and Halcyon 450 number 304. Drinking Texas Sotol. Cheers. Good to see you, Steve. Sirius says, okay, here we go. I had a Commando for a day, hands down one of the most involving rides, and I have ridden most. New owners, TVS, have made lots of improvements. This is talking about Norton. Have made lots of improvements and invested heavily. No concerns with the brand at all. Wonderful. So, I guess we'll get the rest of the story here. I see another comment coming. Dan says, I'm picturing the Mad Hatter's Tea Party. Yeah. You know, Chinese tea making is very splashy. It's very watery. As I hope if I remember, I'll bring the tea set in and we'll do that. Sirius says, they are stopping the heritage bikes next year to focus on more globally viable models. Water-cooled probably and more modern. Anyway, I was sold until my Royal Enfield dealer called and reminded me why I ride. There you go. There you go. Thanks for the update. Jordan says, hello from Wyoming, enjoying the evening, drinking a homemade sangria. Very nice. good to see you. Jim, 240, Lake Geneva, Wisconsin, Halcyon 450, number 240, Halcyon 450, number 300, and Moto Guzzi 2016 Eldorado. And the Moto Guzzi Eldorado is another, actually, it's one of my grail bikes. The V7's cool, but as I mature in my motorcycle tastes, I mean, a Falcone would be amazing, but the Eldorado, there's something, it's like spaghetti Western. It's like the Italians make an American cruiser, and there's just something about it that is so amazing. I want an old one, and Moto Guzzis have a reputation for being very, very reliable bikes, and so I kind of want one that's kind of beat up looking. Someday. Mark, good to see you, Jim. Mark Gallistol, I believe Moto Guzzi V7 was the first model to make it to the USA. I owned a V5, 5-speed, in the days they were selling their automatic. Very cool. Well, it would be weird for a Janus Motorcycles to do episodes on another brand, but it would be kind of neat to start looking at the history of some of these really wonderful brands, and I wouldn't be opposed to it. And Moto Guzzi would be up there at the top of my list. As a continuing operation, there really are few brands like Moto Guzzi. Harley Davidson. Okay, let's take. We're going to take a break, and we're going to read our poetry section. But today, I thought we'd do something a little different. It's going to be a little bit longer, and we often get questions about the name of some of our models. And this evening I thought, in honor of Multifarious coming on, I love the name for his Halcyon. He's named it Kingfisher. So he'll join us, and the Kingfisher name comes from the mythology of the Halcyon. And so I thought we would read a little bit of ancient poetry. This is from the Metamorphoses by Ovid, which is one of the, other than the Bible, there are few texts which have been referenced so many times in at least Western civilization, and the pieces of art that have come out of it, and it's really an amazing poem that covers much of Roman and Greek mythology. Specifically, he's writing about things, metamorphosis, like not just like a butterfly, but like in this case, humans turning into things, and vice versa. So this is a passage from Book 11 of the Metamorphoses, talking about the namesake of the Halcyon. And I guess I'll set the stage a little bit. The myth is that, I won't go too deep into it, but Alcyone, or Alcyone, and Caix were married. He was a king. She's his bride. We'll leave it at that. There's much mythology and genealogies that go into it, but they, according to some sources, all sources, they were deeply in love, but some, it's not actually in the Metamorphoses, but they were unwise enough to call each other by the names of the king and queen of the gods, Jupiter and Zeus and Hera, or the king and queen of the Greek and Roman pantheon. And in so doing, they ticked off Zeus and Hera, Jupiter and his bride, and they suffered the consequences. But Caix sets sail in a ship and leaves Alcyone behind, and she weeps, and she doesn't want him to leave, and she has premonitions that he's not going to make it. But he leaves to go to find this, to hear a prophecy. And his ship is dashed to pieces by the angry gods, and she is visited by the god of dreams, Morpheus, who in the form of Caix, telling her that he's died. And then, well, we can talk a little bit more about it, but I'm just going to go ahead and read it. It's a little bit longer, so bear with me. This is talking about Morpheus coming to visit Alcyone. I thought about reading the whole story, but it would take me like half an hour. So, from Ovid's Metamorphosis. Flying through the shadows on noiseless wings, Morpheus, after a short delay, comes to the Haemonian city. Shedding his wings, he takes the shape of Caix, pallid like the dead and naked, and stands before his unfortunate wife's bed. He appears with sodden beard and seawater dripping from his matted hair. Then he bends over her pillow with tears streaming down his face and says, "My poor wife, do you know your Caix, or has my face altered in death? Look at me. You will recognize me and find for a husband's shade. Your prayers have brought me no help, Alcyone. I am dead. Do not hold out false hopes of my return." Storm-laden Auster, the south wind, caught the ship in Aegean waters and tossed in tempestuous blasts, wrecked her there. My lips, calling helplessly on your name, drank the waves. No dubious author announces this news to you, nor do you hear it as a vague report. I myself, drowned, as you see me before you, tell my fate. Get up, act, shed tears, wear mourning. Do not let me go down unwept to Tartarus' void. Morpheus spoke these words in a voice she would believe to be her husband's. The tears that he wept also seemed real tears, and his hands revealed Caix's gestures. Alcyone groaned tearfully, stirring her arms in sleep, and seeking his body, grasped only air, and cried out, "Wait for me, where do you vanish? We will go together." Roused by her own voice and her husband's image, she started out of sleep. First she gazed round to see if he was still there, the one she had just seen. At the sound of her cry, the servants had brought a lamp. Not finding him anywhere, she struck her face with her hands, tore her clothes from her breasts, and beat at the breasts themselves. She did not wait to loosen her hair, but tore at it and shouted at her nurse, who asked the cause of her grief. "Alcyone is nothing. She has died together with her Caix. Be done with soothing words. He is wrecked. I saw him. I knew him. I stretched out my hands towards him as he vanished, eager to hold him back. It was a shadow, yet it was my husband's true shadow, made manifest. True, he did not have his accustomed features, if you ask me, nor did his face shine as before, but pallid and naked with dripping hair, I, the unfortunate one, saw him. Look, my poor husband stood at that very spot, and she tried to find a trace of his footprints. This is what I feared with my divining mind, this, and I begged you not to leave me, chasing the winds. But for certain, I should have desired you to take me with you, since you were going to your death. How good it would have been to have gone with you. Then no part of my life would have lacked your presence, nor would we be separated by death. Now I have died absent from myself, and am thrown through the waves, absently, and the sea takes me without me. My mind would treat me more cruelly than the sea if I should try to live on and fight to overcome my sorrow. But I shall not fight nor leave you, my poor husband, and at least now I shall come as your companion. If not the sepulchral urn, the lettered stone will join us. If I shall not touch you, bone to my bone, still I will touch you, name to name. Grief choked her further words, and lamentation took their place wholly, and sighs drawn from a stricken heart. Morning had broken. She went out of the house toward the shore, sadly seeking the place where she had watched him depart. And while she stayed there, and while she was saying, "Here he loosed the rope. On this strand he kissed me as he left." And while she recalled the significant actions by their locations and looked seaward, she saw in the flowing waves what looked like a body. Unsure at first what it was, after the tide had brought it a little nearer, though it was some way off, it was clearly a body. She did not know whose it was, but was moved by the omen of this shipwrecked man. And as if she wept for the unknown dead, she cried out, "Alas for you, poor soul, whoever you may be, and your wife, if you have one." The body had been washed near by the sea, and the more she gazed at it, the smaller and smaller shrank her courage. Woe! Now it was close to land. Now she could see who it was. It was her husband. She cried out, "It's him! and together tearing at her cheeks and hair and clothes, she stretched out her trembling hands to Caix, saying, "Oh, is it like this, dear husband? Is it like this, wretched one, you return to me?" A breakwater built by the waves broke the initial force of the sea and weakened the onrush of the tide. Though it was amazing that she could do so, she leapt into it. She flew, and beating the soft air on newfound wings, a sorrowing bird, she skimmed the surface of the waves. As she flew, her plaintive voice came from a slender beak, like someone grieving and full of sorrows. When she reached the mute and bloodless corpse, she clasped the dear limbs with her new wings and kissed the cold lips in vain with her hard beak. People doubted whether Caix felt this, or merely seemed to raise his face by a movement of the waves, but he did feel it, and at last, through the gods' pity, both were changed to birds, the halcyons. Though they suffered the same fate, their love remained as well, and their bonds were not weakened by their feathered form. They mate and rear their young, and Alcyone broods on her nest for 7 calm days in the wintertime, floating on the water's surface. Then the waves are stilled. Aeolus imprisons the winds and forbids their roaming, and controls his grandson's waves. Seeing these birds flying together over the wide sea, some old man praised those affections maintained till the end. Someone nearby, or the same old man, pointing to a long-necked diving bird, said, "That bird also, skimming over the ocean, trailing his slender legs, is a descendant of kings. If you want to trace his ancestry in unbroken line to himself, its source was Ilus the younger, the son of Tros, and his brother Assaracus, and Ganymede, whom Jove snatched, Ilus' son, old Laomedon, and his son Priam, whose fate assigned to Troy's last days. That bird was Hector's brother, Assacus, who, if he had not met his strange fate in youth, would perhaps have had no less a name than Hector, though Hecuba, daughter of Dymas, bore Priam's first. The other Assacus is said to have been born to Alexero, daughter of two-horned Granicus, the river god, in secret, under the shadow of Mount Ida." So there's lots of good images of this from all through history. This is Caix bidding farewell to Alcyone. And there she is, searching for his body. There she is finding him. And you can just, and then this was the thumbnail for the slideshow. Morpheus. And there she is with wings. This is my favorite image. I think this is a really good one from the late 19th century. And there's a kingfisher. But when we were thinking of the name for a new model and thinking about I don't know, I like mythology, as you can tell, and the halcyon days are these supposedly 7 days in the heart of winter when the wind is calmed. And different versions of the story are that the gods kind of felt sorry for because she couldn't raise her young. They were the eggs were being smashed by the rough winds, and they decided to calm the winds during this period to allow her to raise her young. And those are the halcyon days in the middle of winter. And she's also known to weep. Of course, she's weeping over times past. She's remembering good times in the past. And our model, the halcyon, does sort of do that. It looks back to a time when rambling was more of a thing that happened all the time, when our machines worked for us, and when things were a little simpler. And so I also like the idea, because I like to ride all year long, and the idea of a week in the middle of winter when you can ride your motorcycle and think about summer, or even look ahead to spring is extraordinarily poetic and meaningful. So we thought it was a wonderful name for a model. And there's the story. And so fitting that someone has named their motorcycle a Kingfisher. Really amazing. And then just take the Kingfisher symbol. I mean, that mythologically goes in all different places in the Middle Ages, the Fisher King. And we can talk about lots of other poems that deal with that. So there you go. I hope I haven't bored you all too much. That's the story. All right, let's go back and look at some comments. Dave Bowen's on. Dave checking in from Seattle with 450. Yes, that's his name. 41 with a Belgian triple. Cheers. Good to see you, Dave. Erica fell in love with Moto Guzzi's ages ago. We'll be visiting the Janus HQ this week. Excited. Have a vintage Stella 150. That's a scooter. Vintage Stella. They're actually vintage now. That's how. What year is it? CZ 250, Dad's bike, 1974. So CZs, I've written about them in the history of our rear suspension on the 450. And space for a Janus? Well, I hope so. I hope so, Erica. We look forward to seeing you. Old School is on. Old School, finally something today to get my 994 Halcyon 250 washed. Old School from Buffalo just gave Casey Chiefs first last. Go Bills. Howdy. Now to wax. Drinking truly. Hello, tribe. Good to see you, Old School. Jim says, still looking for a mint 1974 Eldorado California police bike. Ooh. Yeah. Talking my language there. That would be really cool. Keith Haywood visited a Moto Guzzi dealer on Saturday. The sales girl asked me more about my Janus than I asked about the Moto Guzzi. She went right to the Janus website and said she wants one. Yeah, there we go. Sell the salesperson a motorcycle. Jim says, I have had a 1998 Moto Guzzi Centauro Sport and a 2000 Bassa. Sorry, I sold the Centauro Sport. Nice. Bassa? Is that a Moto Guzzi model? I don't know my Moto Guzzi that way. That well. Chris Smith is on. Late to the Ramblestream. Halcyon 250, number 367. The bike with no name. Sipping on Maker's Mark. Winter Wassail. Stave Profile. Ohio Special Release. Oh, Stave Profile. Okay. That sounds like a very special Maker's Mark, Chris. Eloquently done, Professor Worsham. Hats off to a poetic definition of my Halcyon name origin. Wonderful. Glad you liked it. Always named my motorbikes. My girl, Althea, a southern name of endurance with loving care to tweak her beauty. Wonderful. Sirius Blatt, that was a wonderful. I hope to get some calm days next month. Rereading The Rambler's Companion as well. Sums up why I ride better than anything else. Yeah. I never have one handy. Well, the Halcyon, that would be a good addition, a chapter in The Rambler's Companion on some metamorphosis. That'd be a really good idea. Bassa. It's a Moto Guzzi model, which I'm not familiar with. I should learn more about that. Mark Galliso says, pardon the misname. That was G5, not a V5. There we go. Nice. Well, let's shift gears here a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about a new, and this is from Sirius's neck of the woods, a new addition that we've made to our online store, and we're going to start carrying, and I'm really excited about, the Beeline navigation system. These are now available on the Janus website. We're now a dealer for them. I've been working with them over the last month or so, month, to look at some of their models. I'm very grateful to Dan Rudemsky here in the comments, who lent me or gave me a Beeline. Thank you so much for letting me experience that. He gave me a Beeline Moto 1. So let's just step back a little bit. Beeline is a motorcycle navigation system. And if you have read The Rambler's Companion, which I can't put my hands on right now, you'll know that in that I have a section on navigation, and I'm a big fan of paper maps. I think that there's something about looking at a Google Maps on your phone that doesn't help you understand where you are in the way that a rambler needs to know. A rambler wants to see the big picture and then be able to zoom in on that in real time and see where he is and look at different roads. And on my California trip, I tried to really use a map and document how I was using it. But one of the problems we have is that we live in the modern world, and it's difficult to navigate without some sort of GPS because everyone does it. Even, your Uber drivers have replaced, or I hope they haven't completely replaced taxi cab drivers. And taxi cab drivers, especially those in England, a London cabbie, it's not something you just plug in and put on your dashboard. They spend years learning, and I think they call it the knowledge. Is that, maybe I'm getting that wrong. It's something like that. It's like the knowledge. And it's this, they actually drive, or they ride around on motorcycles. They're special motorcycles they have with a big board on the front of them with a map. And they ride around the streets of every single street in London, memorizing every street, every location, just to know where they are, which is rambling on like steroids. And it takes many, many years to learn how to actually be a London cabbie. And so you can imagine what they feel about GPS. Because, or Uber or, Lyft, these companies that you can, pick up a phone and start, driving people around. But anyway, where was I going with that? Oh, it's very, very hard today. And not even to mention the fact that you can't go to a gas station and find a map that actually shows all the small roads that a rambler wants to explore. It's very difficult. So I've struggled with how do I navigate on a motorcycle, because I really don't like having the phone on my dashboard. I've done that many, many times. Long, cross-country rides, saddle sore 1000s, or when you're in a different city and you want to find out where you're going, trying to figure that out. But something about it just doesn't appeal to me. And so one thing I've done, which still uses technology, but I'll keep my phone in my pocket, and sometimes I'll run in audio, but you're still being told where you're going in a kind of a weird way, which I guess is just the nature of GPS. Then I started thinking about these beelines, and the idea behind the beeline is to make the interface of the satellite navigation or your GPS system as simple as possible. In their first unit, all it was an arrow. So it's only about this big. The beeline, the Moto 1, both of them are very small. And on it has a little arrow, and it tells you, go this way, turn this way, turn this way. But it tells you where, this is not like just telling you what direction to go, and you have to kind of wind your way and find the road and go down dead ends. It's using a map that's running on your phone, which you can't run GPS without it. But and I've also, I should say, sidetrack again, I've also run a Garmin GPS unit, which I actually enjoy more than your phone. There is something about the Garmin, which is sort of like you're on a spaceship, which has you're on an airplane, which has a kind of rambling quality to it, because you have to interact with it, and you can look at the weather coming up. I don't know. I actually found it really fun to use the Garmin, but they're clunky. It's a huge screen. Doesn't fit the aesthetics of the bike, and it has to be plugged into the battery because it uses so much power. That's the other thing about using your phone for GPS that that is a problem, is that you can't go on a really long ride and expect your battery because running GPS on your phone runs the battery down really fast, and it also if your phone's on your handlebars, it can overheat in the sunlight. I've had that happen many times where it'll shut down and you can't do anything. So again, I was looking for a solution. So the Beeline clamps to your handlebar and tells you what the next turn on the because you'll put a route into your phone on the map and then tells you where to go. So really, and it fits the bike. You don't even know it's there, and it doesn't have to be plugged in. You can get one that will plug into and it'll be continuously charged, but I believe, and I'm not 100% sure on this, but they have something like a 14-hour battery life. So unless you're doing a Saddle Sore 1000, you can run the battery on a long ride, and then you can charge it up in the time that it takes for you to take a long nap or the rest that you need. Very, very interesting. So Dan gave me an old one that he wasn't using anymore, a Moto 1, which is just the Arrow. And then I then I started looking at it, and then I realized I was in Los Angeles visiting the Morgan dealership out there it's Santa Monica, Morgan. And I realized that the new three-wheeler Morgans, which if you're not familiar with Morgan, it's an English car maker, which if there was a car brand that was similar to Janus motorcycles, it's Morgan. They've been in business for over 100 years. They make some of their chassis are made out of wood, just all hand-formed aluminum. Very similar to Janus, except they've been around much longer than we have. A similar level, if not even more, ability to customize your bike. And anyway, I noticed that they had a special mount on the dash of the Super 3 for the Beeline, and I thought, this is perfect. Morgan doesn't want to have a big sat nav screen on their dashboard either. It doesn't make sense because they ramble. I mean, believe me, a Morgan is a wonderfully impractical means of getting from one place to another. So all that had me thinking, okay, I'm going to get a hold of Beeline and I want to talk to him. So Beeline is located about an hour or two west of London. I'm not actually sure of the town. I've been talking to Rebecca, who's one of their representatives over there. We've had several long email chain, and then we got on Zoom call and got to talk and meet and talk about the products. And she sent me a Moto 2, which is their new model. And the Moto 2, in some ways, actually disappointed me because it's a little more like Google Maps. It's a similar size screen, a little bit bigger, but it gives you the arrow where you are, and then it gives you like a little bit of context around it to show, so you can kind of see what's coming. Because one of the criticisms they had of their first model was that it would just suddenly tell you to turn and you wouldn't have a warning. And so it has a little set of lights on the top that also flash when you get close to the turn so that you can get reminded. It's not obtrusive though. And then it tells you to turn. But I was while we were on the call with her, I said, is there any way that you can still get the functionality of the old Moto 1 with just the arrow, where it's super simple? And she said, yes, there's a way you can go into the programming and go and use that old interface. And I haven't tried it yet. I actually haven't gone on a long ride with the Moto, with the Beeline yet, but I've been zipping around town on it, experimenting with how it works, and I'm really excited about it. So I feel like this is the perfect, if we have to do satellite navigation, which and sometimes you have to do if you want to get somewhere quickly, or if you're in a new place, and sometimes these maps just don't have the detail you need. So it's a fun kind of way to encounter, to be able to engage with modernity. That's like having disc brakes on your motorcycle or electronic fuel injection, but still to do it in a way that really is, I think, human scaled, and that doesn't is not obtrusive. You put this on your bike and it looks great. It actually, what we're working on right now is an ability to mount it centrally right between the handlebar clamps. As it is right now, the current unit has a really clever, it's just two rubber bands that go around the back of the mount, and then you can screw the unit onto the top of it. Very, very functional. I'm very pleased with it. But because the unit's a little bit wider than a Janus, the two top clamps on your Janus, it won't fit between them. So I want to raise it up a little bit. And so they make a clamp. We're going to get one of those clamps in, and I'm going to try it out. And we'll see if we can offer that as an alternative. If not, then we'll make something, because I think this is a really great piece of kit for your rambling Janus. Let's take a look at some questions here, and I'll try and answer anything we have, and then we'll probably wrap up. Let's see. Mark Gallistol says, pardon. Oh, yeah, we already got that one. Gary says, I have the Beeline Moto 2 steel and plastic. Removed my cell phone holder from my handlebars. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You've probably ridden with it more than I have. Tell us how you like it, Gary. Sirius says, Beeline are great. I have used one for a while, 100% in line with rambling. Compass mode has taken me to some amazing places. Yeah, and they have another mode on the Moto 2 where it literally is just a compass arrow, and it just tells you the direction. And if you go too far one way, it'll tell you to turn, but it doesn't tell you what road to take. So you can just go exploring and see where it takes you, which actually is a wonderful way. If you're setting out to go on a ramble, I think, you could say, hey, I want to go to this location. And then you'll just kind of, and I do that. Honestly, I do that on my bike anyway. I'll say, I want to get to this town. I'm not going to look at a map. This is around here in Indiana. Like, let's say a 1 or 2 hour ride. I want to get to this town. I'm going to see if I can find my way there without any map or phone. And I'll just ride west, and then I'll ride south, and then kind of see where you are. And maybe you'll come to a town and you ask somebody, hey, how do I get to, and then you can kind of direct your way there. But sometimes you'll just, especially as I get more and more familiar with the area, I learn the knowledge, let's say as the London cabbies, I'll be able to actually find my way, or I'll see a landmark that I recognize, and it's a really good way to have an adventure. So yeah, the compass mode, I'm excited to try it out. Sirius says, yes, the knowledge. That's what the cabbies call it, yeah. Dan Radimsky says, I used a paper map on the Sturgis trip. Fantastic, yeah. And sometimes on longer trips, it's easier to use a paper map. And I found that in California, it was fine. I didn't, when I made that loop up into the hills above Santa Barbara, wasn't on the map. And I bought like 3 maps ahead of the trip online because I knew I wasn't gonna be able to find one in a gas station. And it still didn't show all those little roads. So I had to kind of do some beelining. I had to use the knowledge a little bit to try and find my way down some of those smaller roads while I was running out of gas. Made for an adventure. But a paper map on those will work, but if you're trying to find like fiddly little roads and stuff, sometimes it's really hard. And we're modern people, and we're impatient, and if a road has changed and we're, I don't know, you have to make some you have to meet in the middle somewhere. Ducati 135 says 100% on the maps. That's my main gripe with modern GPS. No overall picture of the area and possible options. Yeah, exactly. And that's true with a GPS, like a Garmin GPS too. Like, you have to go in there and you scroll out, and when you scroll out, guess what happens? All the small roads disappear. It's scalable, and so it can't show all the detail, especially on a small screen, unless you had like a screen the size of your map, because a map is big. That's the beauty of a map, is you can roll it out and see everything, and you can visual. It's like reading a digital tachometer. It's impossible. You have to have an analog tachometer because you want to be able to see it quickly while it's happening. And the same thing is true with a map. You want to be able to see it and understand, oh, there are mountains over here, or the highway's over there, and you can quickly see where some smaller roads are. So 100%. That's a great point, Ducati. Old School says, I rode in a few British cabs as a student many moons ago to get to, and maps are days gone by. But Atlas still in print with every state and cross-section of county roads. Yeah, I shouldn't write off maps because, I'm 100% love using maps, and I will continue to do so. I hope some of the rides I do in the future, I'd love to document with a map. And I should look into other options if they're better ones. The ones that I found that I thought were going to be the best didn't have the detail. Riggedy Alps says, I made it to the owners rally and back to Massachusetts with written directions on a notepad. Only got lost once per day and had to ramble back to the roads I was supposed to be riding. I mean, if you have the time, which is what rambling is all about, then that is the way to go. I should mention, the other option that I've been trying to find a way to make work, but I can't figure it out, is a roll chart. And I think I mentioned, in the Rambler's Companion, I mentioned roll chart holders. And a roll chart is something they use in rallies, and basically it's a roll of paper, and you write out the direction. So it says 3 miles, turn left. Or if you're in a rally race, turn, and it'll tell you how hard to brake and what gear to be in and all this stuff. But in those kind of things, you'll have a guy sitting next to you reading off what comes next, and you're not allowed to have GPS. I can't find a way to actually easily, because it's a lot of work to write out your directions on a roll chart, unfortunately. And there are apparently some programs that'll take Google Maps and turn it into a roll chart and they'll print it out, but it seems like a really long workaround. It's like using a typewriter that's plugged into your computer if you want to try and not use a computer keyboard. It gets very anachronistic, shall we say. Anyway, this seems like maybe it's I kind of like it. It's like a middle ground. Maybe I'll try the Beeline. My Rand McNally road atlas looks tattered and constantly blows in my face. I'm not trying to convert you from maps. I'm just saying this is a nice piece of kit if you want to kind of find a middle ground. How about that? Maps are the best. Sirius says battery life is great on the Beeline. Yeah, that's what I've heard. And so the benefit of it is we're going to be selling them with a case. It's a little. I wish I don't have mine. I should have brought mine here with me to show you all. It's a little case that I bought it because I thought this is how I want to use this. I want to keep it in my Vanson Janus jacket pocket in the case. I don't want to let it flop around with a pocket knife or something and get scratched. Put it in the case, and you can leave it there. You don't have to put it on the bike. Then if you want to, and that little rubber band clip will fit in the case too. So you don't have to have anything on the bike. You put it on the bike, you're good to go, and you don't have to plug anything in. You don't have to worry about draining your battery or whatever. It's just simple, straightforward, and yeah. Old School says, never heard ya erd. Let's see it. Yeah, I don't have one with me. Maybe next week I'll bring mine in. I don't know why I didn't do that. Just because I didn't plan this. Wit says, I saw Morgan for the first time at the Cars and Coffee posted on the FB page. Very cool. Yeah, they're really neat. I was able to drive. One of our customers, Matt, has a 3-wheeler. That one actually has a motorcycle, has an S&S motorcycle engine in it. Really cool. Tom says, are the Moto 2 going to have the Janus logo on them? Triumph offers them with their logo. Ooh. Well, so far we've not gotten to that level yet, but I'm not sure it's necessary. We'll see. Mitch says, hey everybody, I'm late to the stream, but Halcyon 1016, Nashville, Tennessee, sipping on Crown and Coke. Good to see you, Mitch. Sirius says, you can set the Beeline to hundreds of miles away, and it will just tell you if you are heading in the right direction. Yeah, that's what I was saying. How you get there is up to you. Ramble on. Yeah, that's what I was talking about. Absolutely. Charles McGaggan says, Beeline compass mode is the perfect ramble mode. Yeah. I know some of you already have these. This isn't secret knowledge, but we're now carrying them, and we're going to be, I hope, offering a kit that'll work perfectly with your Janus. Stephen Galarza, 450 number 200. I use the Chigi, but I have yet to figure out how to zoom out on the fly. Otherwise, it's great. I'm not sure what that is. Christopher Smith says, I think George Wyman used a Beeline. Yeah, absolutely. George Wyman being the first person to ride, first person to cross the United States on a motorized vehicle. It also happened to be a 200cc motor bicycle in 1903. Innate RAB, GM needs to differentiate between paved and unpaved roads. Google Maps. That might be a good idea too, yeah. Spencer Anderson. I should also just, a little plug for the Beeline. They have some nice, like all these things, they have some features on there where you can pick what kind of ride you want to go on, if it's more adventurous, if you want to go on, I think it even has a dirt, I don't know if it has a dirt paved function, but it's got some neat actually, I can tell you that. I can look at the, because it works off your phone. It still works off your phone, but the interesting thing is it doesn't drain your phone battery like if you're running Google Maps. I have yet to test this out, but I'm very interested. That's the claim. So if I were to plan a ride, there are some paid features on it, like traffic and generating some kinds of rides, or a round trip ride that you pay for, but I don't plan on needing to do that. It's just, overall, it's just very, very, very simple. Yeah, you can do route preferences, which includes, it's just like typical ferries, highways, tolls. What else? You can import a GPX route. So if you do want to actually import a more complex GPS route, you can do that. Yeah, a lot of different little cool features on it. So there's my pitch. Spencer says, I'd like to get the route the Monkey Riders took on their cross-country trip. Yeah, I think I shared the link to that, but Chris is on. He says, we can get the route to you from Monkey Club USA. Get in touch through Richard. Yeah, send me an email, Richard@Janus Motorcycles, and if I haven't already shared that, I can do that. Gary says, best map road trip movie is the 1995 A Goofy Movie. All right. Brian Smith, late arrival from West Virginia. Thought I'd say hi. No bike yet, but ordered a Griffin 250 at the end of September. Definitely not checking my email 1,000 times a day for updates. Hey, welcome to the stream, Brian, and congratulations. Old School says, have a good night. Keep the rubber down. Brian, real Smith heavy chat here. Nice. Excuse me. A little water. Cheers. Ducati says, off topic, but have you considered alternative ways to acquire a Janus? My suggestion would be something similar to the old layaway, but more of a pay in stages as it's built over a fixed period. Yeah, we thought about that, but it really doesn't work from a financial perspective for us to do that kind of financing. We'd have to find, and we don't have storage, and there's lots of logistical reasons that we really can't we can't afford on multiple levels to be able to do that. So unfortunately, not an option right now. In the future, I mean, I'd love to do something where we can, probably not a layaway program, but something where financing is more readily available. So in the meantime, I would recommend that you talk to us about financing. We do offer financing through a number of sources, and we'd love to figure out a way for you to get a Janus. It's not my area of expertise. All right. Well, look at that, 7:59. I think it's a perfect time to end this evening's Ramble stream. It's been remarkably unplanned and remarkably fun for me. So it's always a pleasure to join you all. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your toasts and stories and all your input on the Beeline. Check out the Janus Motorcycles store. They're newly available there. We'll be carrying their products, and also look for the mount solution. You can get the Beeline and use the regular mount, but we're working with them on a mount that will work to center it on the Janus handlebars. And if they don't have one, we'll figure out another option, because it's too good a solution. So thank you all very much, and a good night to you all. Right at 7:59. Boom.